I'm Eric.
I'm Ethan.
And we're juniors in high school.
And we're here to talk about two John Steinbeck books.
The Pearl and...
Of Mice and Men.
Awesome.
We have 3 topics to discuss today?
Yeah, I think we all brought a topic to the table, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Alright, so...
Ethan, go ahead and start us.
Our first topic was, what was John Steinbeck's intent in writing of Mice and Men? And what was it in writing The Pearl, and how are they similar? So, I believe... Was it Alex? I wrote something down about this.
Okay.
Well, first of all, The Pearl is a... it talks about how money can ruin a man.
What's the general story of The Pearl? Just so we all have...
There's this guy, he needs money to pay for a doctor to help his baby who got stung by a scorpion, and he's a poor man, and he can't pay for it, so he has to go out and find a pearl, but what he ends up finding is a giant pearl, and he tries to sell it, and then there's people who are trying to scam him, and people are trying to hurt him and steal the pearl, and it just
brings chaos to his...
Yes,
okay.
Brings an evil song,
right,
as it is used multiple times. And then, Of Mice and Men is a book about these two guys, George and Lenny. They're farmhands, temporary farmhands. And worst comes to worst, Lenny is not a very intelligent man, and he ends up doing some bad things where George and Lenny have to run from or resolve.
Right.
So, I'm going to start off with, well, the meaning of the pearl is really noticeable. It's about money and how it can ruin a man.
Right, very present.
And then I'm gonna say that the of Mice and Men is a themed book about loneliness.
Ooh.
And how they're different and how they're similar is that the pearl is really noticeable in Of Mice and Men. It's not very noticeable.
Right. Okay.
I also had something for number 1. I was thinking his intention of writing the book was to ask the reader 2 very big ethical questions.
Oh.
In The Pearl I feel like is money a bad thing to have, and then in Of Mice and Men is, when is it okay to kill?
Yeah, is what justifies a murder, and where do you draw the line with money and stuff? Money, sure, it drives your life, but it brings along that evil. So, what do you go about money wise? And they both bring about these ethical questions and make people question the way they live their lives. And okay, it's not the way he does it through a story is pretty incredible, because it presents it in a way that you don't initially think about it, but you subconsciously decide. Like at the end, George kills Lenny.
Yes. Spoilers,
but George kills Lenny. So earlier in the book, you learn both sides of the story, and you make this subconscious decision whether it's right or not, and then you have to question yourself whether that subconscious decision was right or not. And then in The Pearl, when he's pondering what he should do with the pearl that he found, whether he should sell it, get rid of it because he knows that it can bring evil, or
he did have a giant intent on selling it and giving his son a education.
He had good intents,
but his wife wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah, so when you are subconsciously with the person either going along, it's like, no, get rid of it, or you're like, okay, yeah, you need to sell this. You know, this is an opportunity for your family. It makes you question it without just asking you the question. It presents all this stuff, and for me, honestly, I wasn't ready for them. I wasn't ready for when it was happening. So when it happened, I was either like, dude, no, what the heck, or like, okay, that had to happen. Like
50 Cent says, "Mo money, mo problems."
All right.
There's also a Bible verse over it. I'm gonna read that real quick. It's 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from faith and pierced themselves with many pangs." Pangs being just a, pointed stick.
Bad stuff.
Yeah.
Huh. So I guess it dates back quite a while.
Yeah.
And not just to these tribes in Mexico.
I feel like another thing that you see in the Pearl more so than you see in Of Mice and Men is you get a female perspective as well on these ethical questions because, men I feel like, are a lot more bullheaded than women. So obviously, Kino's wife, Kino's the main character in the Pearl, she's right away, she knows, this is just going to be bad. But he's thinking, no, I got to do this. And so you also get two perspectives on these questions.
Yeah, definitely. One other intent I felt Steinbeck had for writing these novels was to get across the culture, because we saw the culture of these tribes, and he talked about like the songs that they had, and just the life with the town, and the town coming to life when anything happened, and same with the ranchers and how they talked. Like he used normal writing, but when dialogue, it switched over to how they talked, and it really showed that culture and everything.
All right. So topic number 2 is, what are 3 characteristics which signify John Steinbeck's voice in his writing?
This was my main one, which is awesome because we were just talking about how he uses culture, and that was one of my main points. Is he loves to take in the essence of the culture of the places that he's writing about, like the ranchers and everything. He brought to the table just how it was, and just how they talked and everything, and didn't hold anything back. Like there was a couple, things that they were saying, and how they said it was just not how we would say it today, but that's how they said it back then, and how they went about everything, and just the way they lived their lives was genuine, is what I'm getting at. And the same with the tribes and everything. We saw their culture with the songs, the songs of the family, and it's in the Song of Evil, and then the Song of the Greatest Pearl, whatever. That just kept ringing in his head throughout the whole time.
The Pearl of the
pretty
World.
Cool. The Pearl of the World, that's what it was called. So I thought it's kind of cool because he really brings the culture to it and doesn't try to tell it from the reader's culture. He just takes it from the character's culture, and it brings about the knowledge of the culture, which I think is kind of cool.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, definitely. Steinbeck's characteristics in writing are pretty cool, and right away in both books, when you're reading this, the first paragraph of both books is just description. Like seemingly, it doesn't seem like it's important, but this is two points that are here. Everything that happens in his books has a meaning or is important. Like everything that happens. It may seem like, and then he talks about this frog that hopped by. That's symbolic somehow. I don't know if there's ever a frog that's hopped by, but somehow it is symbolic. Everything that happens, every small side story, like in of Mice and Men, when it talked about the dog.
Oh, I was going to say something about George's card game.
George's card game, yeah, but he's flipping up his cards. Everything that's happening, it just seems like normal, but as we were talking about, it's all symbolic. What I was going to say is his Candy's dog.
Yeah.
Candy's dog, like he makes the decision to have his dog die because he's in so much pain and everything. And so already you're kind of getting that idea. It was like, was it okay to kill the dog of mercy, like a mercy killing? And it just seems like, oh, it's just kind of like the rancher story. But then once you get to the end, you're like, wow, that was super connected. And so like John Steinbeck, he doesn't waste anything. He doesn't waste any part, any paragraph, any sentence. It's all there, and it all means something.
You can also tell because of that. Both these books are very short. One is 90 and the other one's 100 pages. Yeah. And I mean, they're just packed full of whole time. There's really no downtime. I mean, there's obviously the description, but without the description, I feel like you wouldn't grow close to these characters.
Yep.
And you wouldn't have the emotional appeal that you have to Lenny at the end.
Right.
And to George. Yeah,
he could have told that story as like, oh, these two ranchers go, and he's not very smart. Like our summary, like you can't, if you haven't read the book, that summary right there would just, it would be, you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. But like what I was saying, his setting descriptions, the whole paragraph at the beginning of Mice and Men is building this scene, and then George and Lenny come into the scene, which is kind of cool. He's like building the set, and it's getting everything around, and then the guys come into the scene and do their thing. And in the Pearl, it says Kino awakened to this place, and then it describes the place, and then Kino comes back, and then it brings back in Kino, and it talks about how the soul of the world, the song of the family. So I'm getting the alchemist in here. Song of the family and everything that goes along with that, and it brings in the culture and all the descriptions is awesome because it really paint a picture and you get to watch it happen in your head, which I think is pretty cool.
Another thing I noticed was that the books, like the stories, they only happen over the course of a couple days.
Oh wow!
Like they were on the farm for like
Just
Saturdays.
Yeah, Sunday, my Monday, or whatever.
And then, yeah. And he ended up killing her on like Monday or something, and then like
wow. I didn't even think about
first
it.
day Kino's baby gets
right.
stung,
and then he finds the pearl
the day of, and then the doctor tries to heal. Yeah.
And then they take off that night.
Yeah.
And then that next day they're walking, and then they throw the pearl in the water on the third day. Wow, that is insane that they're so short. Like not that it's just a short thickness, but it's also short time wise. That's crazy.
So my main topic was I have to discuss what we've learned from reading the two Steinbeck novels, and then apply them to the real world.
Right.
So what I learned was that, for one, there's always in life going to be these big ethical questions, and you should be prepared to give an answer for these ethical questions, and you have to be able to back them up. In Of Mice and Men, obviously, it was, when is it okay to kill? And then in The Pearl, it was, is money a bad thing? Like, is having too much money a bad thing? And then another one was, in life, there's always going to be this culture, and there's always going to be a way that society functions. And when you go against the way society functions, a lot of people are going to have a super big fit about it.
Right.
Because, I mean, they were all poor in The Pearl, and he gets this big amount of money, and suddenly everybody's just going insane. They all want to kill him. They all want to take his pearl.
Yeah.
And then
Except for his own people.
Except for his own people. And then in Of Mice and Men, you have, obviously, Lenny. He doesn't go with the culture.
Right.
Well, neither of them do, really, because the culture that they lived in was you work for a month, and then you go to town, you spend all your money at the bar, at the cat house.
And they were thinking about their utopia the whole time. They were working for their utopia.
Yeah, they wanted their farm with their rabbits and everything. They wanted to be their own boss. So when people hear about that, they say, "Oh no, you can't do that." And then obviously Lenny, you got Lenny who just kills things, and obviously that goes against any society.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and then you got to be prepared for those ethical questions, and you have to be knowledgeable on what you think of random things because you never know when something like that could come up, and you have to make a decision, and you're not going to know what the heck to do if you don't know thyself.
So I feel like to apply to the real world, like you said, you should know what you're going to say. But even if you're not thinking, like obviously you're not going to know if somebody just comes up and asks you a question. And you just got to be prepared for somebody at any time to ask you a question. Because you need to know what you know, and you need to know why you think that way.
Yeah.
Be able to back it up.
Well, I really didn't learn anything from The Pearl, really. Because I know money exists. I know money is a good way to corrupt somebody. Like, bribing people with money is a good example of the book and real life. Right. But I did learn a lot from Of Mice and Men. Like, if I had to put one of you down, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Because
Thanks, buddy.
The big ethical question that we're talking about, would you kill your best friend? Or your only friend? But,
yeah,
he's my best friend, so...
We could debate about this for
I couldn't shoot you in the leg earlier with a BB gun.
Yeah,
I was like, I can't do this.
I can't bring things.
I mean, we did discuss it in our English class,
right?
Which is what this assignment is for. We had a large debate over the question of was George justified in killing Lenny, and that was a very good debate, I thought.
It was very very strong on either side, which is insane because
except that we were stronger.
Well, you know you weren't. So. But I also in the Pearl though, you said you didn't learn anything from the Pearl, but what if you had won the lottery? There was a huge Powerball, $1.6 billion. But listen. I know you're not old enough, but say somebody bought you a ticket and you won. Okay, so you have after tax, let's say $1 billion to your name instantly. You can't not let that ruin you. it is insanely hard to not let that ruin you. Sure, the culture back then, like people can't like come and take your money because it's pretty much digital. You can store it in banks and stuff like that. But they just Steinbeck just, I feel like, used this culture of back then to show how physically how people will attack you. But it's just not going to be in the same way. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The people from around you are going to betray you and be mad at you because, like, no, I wouldn't say this would happen, but say I came up to you and said, dude, man, you have all this money, just help me out, pay for college and stuff, and you say, I can't if I pay for your college, and I pay for everybody's college, and then I would get super angry and then go maniac and do crazy stuff. We never know what could happen. Like, I heard the one dude that won one of the Powerball things is in jail now or something like that because he just blew his money and stuff because it evil. It brings about evil. It would be insanely hard and such a responsibility, really, is I think what another thing that came out of the book is that with great money comes immense amount of responsibility.
Especially if you get it so fast and you're overwhelmed by the amount. Yeah,
he wasn't like a gradual kind of thing where he built it up and learned how to control himself. It was you went from being poor to being super insanely rich, and that natural drive just drove him off the cliff. He just didn't know what to do with it, and it drove people mad. Well,
and then another example of another person that won the Powerball, he died of a cocaine overdose while partying with prostitutes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just all this money. I feel like another thing is it really changed the society around him because everybody was peaceful. And then also the doctor.
About Keno. Not the Powerball dude. Yeah, about the Keno Society. Right.
But the doctor at first wouldn't help him, but then he wins, and before Keno even goes back, somebody mentions how Keno found this pearl, and he says, oh yeah, he's a customer of mine. Mm-hmm. So right away, the perception that the doctor had of Keno changed because of his money. Right. So it also brings up, money gives a person a lot of power too, and they have to be responsible with the
and then people are going to try to take advantage of you, and you have to be. It would be insanely difficult to know what to do when you would get a whole bunch of money just instantly like that. I can't even imagine. I don't know if I would want it because sure it could make things really good, but it probably could bring about a lot of evil too, which is crazy to think about. Which is what is awesome about his writing.
Now, I'm going to bring up another question.
Go ahead.
What would you guys have done if you would have won?
Won what?
The Powerball.
Oh.
I feel like I would take as much for college as I need, and I'd give the rest to charity.
You say, that's respectful, and that's awesome, but how many people do you think who have won the lottery have said that? I don't know. I'm not saying you wouldn't. What I'm saying is, once you have that money, it's going to be insanely difficult to part with.
True.
Like, I mean, I can't even. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about really, but I can think that it would be insanely hard to do that. Like, yeah, we would want to say that, yeah, we'd give it to charity, but once we actually have possession of that, would we be able to do that?
I feel like what I would do is, I don't know if I would even want to go to college, because if I won this much money, I wouldn't spend it on college, because I would buy myself a nice house, I would buy myself a nice car. I mean, I wouldn't go overboard on either of those things, but, I mean, I would probably help pay off my family's debts, and I would also probably, and then I would put some in the bank, enough that I could live off the interest of that for the rest of my life and not work again, and then give the rest to charity.
I would probably invest it, and I would still go to college because I would want to be more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But I think we're drifting away from the action. But okay, I wanted to say, excuse me, another thing that we learned from his stuff, I think, from Steinbeck stuff, is almost both of them. In both books, Keno, Lenny, and George, they all had these dreams. They all had these utopias that they thought of. In Keno's utopia, he was seeing his son get an education. He was seeing him finally be able to be married in the church to his wife. He was seeing new clothes, new shoes, new house, and all these good things. And obviously, everybody was dreaming of that. He talked about how everybody that Kino knew was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get something out of this because me and Kino are buddies and everything," which is what I was kind of getting at earlier. But these dreams, and utopias that George and Lenny had, where they would learn for their work for themselves and be their own boss and just live off the land, as Lenny would say. But
The fat of the land.
There we go. But sometimes I felt like these books are trying to tell us sometimes maybe dreams are meant to be dreams, and they're meant to drive you in the current moment. They're not meant to be fulfilled. You excuse me. That thought of the utopia and that dream is maybe just something to get you through the day and to look forward to, but maybe sometimes they aren't meant to be redeemed, achieved, real, however you want to say it. There we go.
They're just meant to keep you motivated. Because I mean, if you don't have a goal that you're going towards, then what's the point of working, of moving forward, of trying to move up the ladder?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you were to achieve that, but maybe you're not supposed to. At sometimes, obviously, some dreams, yeah, they're meant to be realized, but some dreams maybe, like, obviously we dream of winning the lottery, but maybe it would not be the best thing for us.
Yeah.
And we dream of this. I don't know. It just seems like maybe he was trying to say that, yes, look forward to your dreams and let them drive you, but don't be super disappointed when it doesn't happen.
Don't try to rush to your dreams, basically.
Or rush to it. Because then you can't enjoy the time that you're at now.
Or maybe the plan that, we have for our lives isn't the right thing for us.
It's not. And maybe what we're living now is what we're supposed to be doing. Like how Kino was living, he felt like he was poor, but maybe that's just his role in life. And once he stepped out of society and started swimming against society, then things went wrong for him and his family.
I feel like that brings up another thing. I feel like he's saying, you're not truly happy until you're actually content with where you're at. So I feel like he's saying that you should strive to find contentment
where you're at.
Because, I mean, if you have a house, you can pay the bills, you can put food on the table, you have a family that loves you, I mean... Maybe
that's not also bad.
Why not just be content?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Do you guys have anything else to add?
Good job, John Steinbeck. And us.
If you guys haven't read either of these two books that we're talking about, I highly suggest that you should.
Yes, and we may have ruined some things for you, but maybe it'll help you to analyze the book as you read it.
Yes.
Hopefully. At least. I don't know, I enjoyed this. This was
fun. Yeah.
We should do it again sometime, read a couple more books, make a book club or something.
Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, you can put them down in the comments. We'll try our best to answer them. Thank you very much for watching.